Welcome back to the Brendan T. Adams audio experience. I'm Brendan T. Adams, and today I'm sitting here with Brian Will. He's a serial entrepreneur, founder, best-selling author with over 30 years of experience. He helps business owners scale smarter by building systems that increase profit while reducing day-to-day workload. He has launched and grown companies across multiple sectors and is known for his practical and no bullshit, no nonsense approach to operations, sales, leadership. Also, multiple books. You got No, which is a good book. The Power of No. You look at that. Mm-hmm. Also, the Dropout Multimillionaire and the Invisible Multimillionaire, which I recently wrote the foreword to, which is a great book. I've read your books. I love your books. But before we jump into your knowledge, all the things you do, how did we meet? It's a really good story.
As I recall, I did a podcast with a guy, and he then said, "Oh my gosh, you got to meet Brandon Adams." And it just so happened that I have a place here in Clearwater, and you were in St. Pete. And so we went and sat at a Starbucks, I believe, and had a coffee and met.
Who was the guy? I don't even remember.
His name
Brian
was also
Wright?
Brian Wright. Yeah,
Brian Wright. Yeah, look at that. Shout out to Brian Wright.
Yeah.
He's done his show for like 10 years now. And so we met at a coffee shop.
Yeah.
We just started talking.
Traded books.
That's right. We traded books. You read my book. I read yours. And then we just stayed in contact and then just kind of throwing ideas left and right, which also, now that I think about this sitting down, you were a producer of my documentary, Beyond Small Town Dreams. We filmed in Iowa with my family.
Yep.
You were a part, you spoke at our Rise and Record event. You've spoke at other events. I want to go into a couple things. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of your companies you exited for 70 million. Was it rough, give or take?
It was 60 plus 20 on the back.
Okay, so I first want to go because I love talking about scale and all the bullshit that happens along the way. Talk about that company and where it was from the zero, how you got to 70 million, but also talk about through the process of how you sold it, because most people don't think about that.
You know, it's a weird story because I was going to do a deal with a guy and his company, and right the day we were supposed to close the deal, his ex-partners kicked him out of the company.
Wow.
Then they tried to get me to do the deal anyway, but I didn't really know them. I only knew my friend Steve. And so when they came back to me, I said, "I'm not doing a deal with you anymore. I'm only going to do the deal with Steve."
Yeah.
I remember they called me in the car that day, and the guy goes, "This is a life-changing decision, Brian. You need to do this deal with us." And I said, "No, I'm loyal to Steve. Steve's my guy. If Steve's out, I'm out."
Yeah.
A year later, Steve came back and said, "You know what? I appreciate the loyalty. Let's start a company together." And so I had an existing company. He had a startup. We traded some equity in each company. And 3 years later, we sold it for $80 million.
Wow.
It was
Talk about
crazy.
the power of loyalty. Yeah.
Yeah, a straight up loyalty. And this was a little weird back then. We were an internet startup.
Insurance space, right?
No, we were a lead gen company.
Oh, lead
we were
gen,
doing
okay,
performance-based lead gen. And literally we showed up one day to work, and there were two PE guys at our front door with coffee. And they said, "Hey, we want to come and talk to you about buying your company." So we agreed, and eventually we agreed to sell it to them. Steve and I flew up to Boston for the closing, and at the closing, they tried to cut the price by $10 million. Literally, Steve and I are sitting there, and they said, well, it was a $50 million deal. They said, "Instead of 50, we want to offer you 40. And Steve looked at me, and I looked at Steve, and I looked back at them, and I said, "No, not interested." And, you know, you got 8 private equity guys sitting there, and me and Steve from Marietta, Georgia.
Yeah.
And they thought they were going to get us. And I just said no. And Steve didn't say a word. And we left. We got on the plane. And I remember he looked over at me and he goes, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Yeah, I'm sure." He goes, "All right, you have to explain it to the partners." 6 weeks later, another guy walked in the door and gave us 80 instead of the original 50.
That's the power right there.
Yeah. So crazy.
Did the people that gave you the lowball offer, did they come back to you, or they just kind of walked?
No, they walked.
They walked.
They assumed that, you know, we were never going to get another deal like that.
So explain from
Hold
literally
on. That's the power?
the power of no. So explain the process. So from 0 to 10, then you get to the next phase of what was the revenue of the business at that peak?
So
You're valued obviously higher.
We were only in business for 3 years. We did 6 million, 13 million, 30 million. And then that's when we got acquired. And then the year after we got acquired, it jumped to 60 million.
Okay. So talk about from that, going from 10 million to 30 million, what broke in the system? What did you hire? What did you have to do differently?
You know, my partner, Steve, used to say that internet is like the lottery.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to keep throwing money at it and keep trying and trying and trying and trying. Because our first 9 months in business, we did 0 revenue.
Yeah.
And I was sweating it out because we'd already burned through about $600,000 of our own cash.
Yeah.
And I got nervous one day and I said, Steve, this isn't working. I want out. And he goes, no, Brian, it's going to work. And I said, no, Steve, this isn't working. We've generated 0 revenue, like not even $1. We've burned $600,000. He said, Brian, it's going to work. But if you want out today, I'll let you out. You give me my equity back. You walk away. You owe nothing. And I was sitting at the table staring at a guy who was probably worth 20 million and I was worth $20.
Yeah.
In about a minute, that ping pong ball was bouncing back and forth in my head. And finally I said, okay, Steve, if I'm going down, I'm going down with you.
Yeah.
So I'm in. And he goes, all right, good. Don't ever come back to me and tell me you want to get out again then. And I said, okay. That next year we hit but one offer out. It clicked. We ran $6 million in revenue on that offer. And then it went 6 to 13 to 30 to 60. So it was, you just keep plugging away and plugging away and plugging away and plugging away until you finally hit what worked.
When it started really working and then you realize, holy shit, like we got money coming in and everything, like what was going through your mind? And also what was that feeling before? Because you were probably feeling things breaking and things going wrong and all of a sudden all this fucking money's coming in. Like what would explain that for people that are listening, that are looking to grow their business?
It's weird. You know, the first day I showed up at work and we started looking at the numbers on the screen and it's like, we sold 10,000 yesterday.
Yeah.
How did we sell 10,000? The day before we sold like 2.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, something clicked. You know, I think, what's the book, The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah.
Sometimes when it hits that tipping point, it just goes.
Yeah.
And then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and everything we did seemed to work. So I can't explain why. It just did.
What would be the best lessons you learned, or if somebody's listening or watching this that's going from that 10 million to, let's say, next level, what's your advice to them?
First of all, I will tell you, and I say this all the time in all my podcasts. I actually did a podcast once and it was called Don't Take Your Own Damn Advice.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have access to somebody like I did, my partner, Steve, who had already created successful companies and made a lot of money. If you have access to somebody that has the ability or has had the success that you want, listen to them.
Yes.
Listen to them because they've already done what you want to do. They know what's going to happen. They can see, I call it the 360 degrees floor to ceiling view of what's going on. Listen to them, take their advice, do what they say, stop taking your own advice and sit back and watch what
So
happens.
you get a mentor, somebody that's already achieved what you want to achieve, and get them in your business too.
Yeah.
Beyond listening to them, get them as a partner like you did.
Yeah.
And okay, so what were some mistakes you made that other people should be avoiding? Did you make yourself?
Well, in all my company, my very first mistake I ever made, my first company collapsed. We were like a moonshot and then we absolutely collapsed. And the 2 lessons I always learned in that company was never get too deep into one thing.
Yeah.
So I had a client who was 80% of my revenue. That's not a business.
Yeah.
And when that client left, my business collapsed.
It's done. Yeah.
Number 2, always make sure you have enough resources, cash, or backup that if something does happen in your business, you can't get hurt. Look what just happened in COVID.
Yeah.
Everybody who had a weak business plan, no assets, they were crushed. They were gone because one event. And by the way, we don't know if those type of events can happen again.
They can always happen. You got to be prepared for that.
You have to be prepared for problems, trials, tribulations, things that are going to go wrong. Because if you don't, your business is going to go
You never
down.
want to run out of cash. You should have some kind of reserve or some kind of option for that time. And if you could weather the storm, that's where people make all their money.
It was my first business. It was going up. We were making money. And every time I made more money, I spent it. I got a bigger house, a nicer car. And then when troubling times hit, I had no cash to back it up. I couldn't make my payments and I lost everything.
Yeah.
That's a lesson that has stuck with me my whole life. Make sure you are able to get through a hard time if it happens.
What, you've talked about this, and you're probably in the future going to write a book on this. You and I were chatting at the bar the other night. I think it was like, are you happy with your millions? So can you talk about the feeling of you've made millions of dollars and you've seen all the things, about how money doesn't make you happy in itself?
Sure. This goes back to, there's really 2 stories behind this one, but my favorite story is my friend Paul, who lives out in Park City. I had sold my company and I was out in Park City and I was having lunch with him and he said, what are you going to do next? And I said, I don't know, Paul, I've been head down, dark to dark for 20 years. It's all I know. He goes, well, what are you passionate about? And I said, I don't know what the word passion means. I work. That's what I do. And he said, Brian, I'm going to tell you something. He said, if you're ever going to be happy, there are two things you need to do. Number one is you need to find something you're passionate about. Passionate about that doesn't involve money. And number two, you need to find a way to give back to the world some of what the world gave you. And if you don't do those two things, you will spend the rest of your life chasing money and you'll never be happy.
That's some powerful
And the
words.
genesis of my book, it's called Are You Happy After the Millions? Because it's amazing how many people spend their entire life chasing success and chasing money. And then when they get it and they sell their company or they get out of it, they're lost because their entire identity in life was business and it wasn't about anything else. And they become lost. I did it a little bit.
Yeah.
When I sold my company, ended up getting divorced, bought a big house, a lake house, a beach house, a car, an airplane, cars, motorcycles, wave runners, boats. And I had everything I ever wanted, but my family was gone and I wasn't happy because the things and the money aren't what make you happy at the end of the day.
So you and I have known each other now, I think, about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And you've been very instrumental in that story. Challenged me because I've been down the path of grind, and I've learned to find my passion more into what I do, because I mean, the path I was going was me no longer going to have a wife and et cetera. And so you've helped me with that, because it's true. Like life, 99% of the ride, it's a journey. The 1% is the finish line. And if you get to the finish line and then you have no one to share it with, then what's the point of the money?
What do I've told you this many times. Be careful you don't win the world
Yes.
and lose everything that's important in the process.
That's the one thing I will never forget that you've said. All right, so let's transition. We've talked the other day. You got some AI. Can we talk about the AI stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I want to talk about the AI stuff. You have some really cool stuff you're doing. Talk about what you're doing with AI and how it can benefit other people.
My specific company.
Your specific company.
How many times
this is Black Mirror shit. I know you haven't seen it.
How
but this
many
is,
times have you ever heard somebody say, in fact, I just talked to two of your team out there and they said it. I wish I could have another conversation with my mother or my father or my grandmother or my grandfather. I wish I had their stories back. I wish I could remember. And there are companies that do, scrapbooks and a little video. One of your guys said, well, I took some pictures and they turned them into little 2-second clips.
Yeah.
So our new company, Living Forever AI, we actually have the ability to take your loved one before they pass, create a digital and voice avatar, get all of their memories, their thinking processes, their stories, and have a live interactive avatar that you can literally have conversations with just like they were here today. When they're gone, you can still talk to them. It's amazing what you can do with AI. And we are in the beginnings of what AI can do.
So just to give people an example, like you can have your mother or father, if they're, let's say, still alive or a loved one, go through this process, answer questions, and you could get a video literally with your camera phone. And then one day when they're gone, you can go back and have a real conversation via like this video with your parents.
And the avatar will
like
know
they're always
their
there.
stories, their personality, their advice. It knows their Myers-Briggs. It knows everything about them. It is literally like having a conversation with them.
You showed me the technology the other day, and I saw it, and I first thought, well, that's just an interview with your mother. And you said, no, that's AI, mom.
That's not my mom, but it's my mom, but it's her
creepy.
digital twin.
The first thing that came to me is like, I want my dad to be there. I want my mom. I want Kevin. I want it. Think about all the people, like, because you don't ever want to lose the thought of what they were like, because I have friends that they lost their parents early on and they can't remember what it was like to talk to their parents. And that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
That's why this is so powerful, what you're doing and the future of it.
I'm excited about this new company. Nobody's doing it. This will be the first launch of anything like this. And it wouldn't have happened 2 years ago because AI wasn't ready.
Yeah.
We are in the cusp of AI really being powerful enough to do this, and we're the first company to launch this type of product.
So somebody that wants to get this technology and be able to do it for their own loved ones, where can they find you?
livingforeverai.com.
Okay, before we wrap up, I always want to ask this. What's your best advice for entrepreneurs out there? Just best advice that comes to you for them to have success and fulfillment in their career.
Not even close. Find a mentor, find somebody who has been there and done that, and take their advice and listen. That's it.
I love it. It's been a great time just getting to know you over the last 5 years. You've been a great mentor. We have a lot of fun things to come, from filming on the Mississippi to cabins to doing business deals to we got the shark retreat this week. But guys, follow him. Everything he's doing, he's got great advice and has done a lot of different things. And until next time, y'all, we'll see you later.